welcome to the Let It Fly show. I am Michael Severe, joined by Josh Jones, Creighton University, and of course, Omaha Central, just up the hill.
Yep.
Downtown.
Yep.
Downtown.
You know, when you say Omaha Central, I always want to say this: the greatest high school in the state of Nebraska. And the thing, when I say that, I don't mean just because of sports.
Right.
I think the ambience of it, the old state capitol, the way they built onto it, is downtown.
Yep. It's downtown. Yep.
And then
and the legends that have gone through there.
No doubt.
So one of the best things about Wikipedia pages, for the most part, is you can find out little information about like all the alumni, right?
Word.
All the famous alumni.
Yep.
And Central High School touches so many, from actors.
Categories, exactly.
Politicians, all the way down.
Right.
And obviously it's been around for a very long time, so that helps as well. I was actually over at TJ, over in Council Bluffs yesterday. They turned 100 this year.
I know.
100 years old that high school is. And just like Central, part of the building is the old building.
For sure.
And then they built onto it.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool. We are, of course, our presenting sponsor by Bud Light. Wherever you are in town, wherever you are in the state, easy drinking, easy buckets. Right now, in a very short amount of time, it's going to be easy home runs.
Yes, it will.
Because you got baseball as well, all that going on, easy drinking, easy to enjoy. Bud Light. As always, here at Let It Fly, specials all throughout the week. I actually put them down.
All right, let me know.
Monday is pizza. They got pizza specials on Monday.
Yep.
Tuesday, of course, is tacos.
Taco Tuesday.
Wednesday wings are how much? How much are they?
They are $1.
$1 wings.
Yep. Thursday,
steak and fries, still special.
Man.
Get a nice old sirloin steak, a bunch of fries. That's special. And on Friday, it is French dip Fridays.
Man.
French dip Fridays, which are delicious. I love. That's my. When I come
here,
you
look like a French dip.
When I come here to eat, right, and it's an event, and when they have the events, they don't always have the French dip. I'm always brokenhearted because I love the French dip. Currently, though, I don't eat meat for Lent.
Oh yeah,
so
that's right.
It wouldn't be very helpful for me currently.
Is that hard for you?
You know what's hard is that I'm also not trying to eat carbs.
Oh, okay.
So I'm trying. So that doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room when you're also not trying to eat carbs and you're not eating meat.
Right.
So it doesn't leave a lot of stuff to eat.
Right.
So there's a lot of salmon, shrimp.
Oh, you good then?
Crab meat.
You good?
That kind of thing. But even if you have a side. So like even some vegetables have you can't eat carrots.
Right.
Peas. All they got a lot of carbs in it. So I'm just. Like I said, I got this March coming up in August. I gotta lose weight. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to do that currently.
I support that.
Yes, well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Also want to tell you about the $4. You get the Red Bull watermelon margaritas.
Margarita. Yeah.
If you haven't tried it yet, come on down to the Capital District or go out west in Elkhorn as well and check that out and get yourself one of those $4 Red Bull watermelon margaritas.
I like the fact that there's a special every day.
Yep.
The weekends is just lit because of sports, but you'll always get the little specials that double back like the nachos and things like that. Those come within itself because of the weekend.
Yeah.
But Monday through Friday, you can always get something on a special.
Yep. And also, don't forget,
I like
happy hour.
I know.
So happy hour is 3 to 6 during the week, and reverse happy hour.
Yep.
Which is from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. as well.
Man.
So you got that going on. So there's always great specials here and good stuff for you. So we got a bunch of things we can get to today.
Please.
2 things I want to talk about. One is Nebraska basketball. And the other is Creighton basketball.
Creighton basketball.
And we're going to get to both of those. But before we do that, so Matt Rhule spoke to the media. We're taping this on a Tuesday.
Okay.
It'll drop on a Wednesday. Spring football doesn't start, not next week because they have spring break. The week
like
after that, it'll start, right?
2 weeks.
So he had like a little press conference where we asked him a bunch of stuff, talked about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
He had a quote that he had. I love this because, I've been covering Nebraska football since 2002.
Yep.
Right? And one of the things that I found both annoying and intriguing is the fact that Nebraska has this belief of tradition. If you're going to do it, you got to do it this way. You got to do it the Nebraska way.
The Nebraska way.
Got to do it the Nebraska way, right? That's a big part of it.
I'm trying to follow you.
And I understand. I get that. I get holding on to success.
Right.
But when you don't have success for a while, it's time
Where's the tradition?
To change.
Yeah.
If all you have is memories,
right,
you're not having a very good time.
Is he trying to bring the tradition back and stick with it, or is he changing
it? Well,
he's
saying this. So a big debate among both Nebraska fans, media, everybody around the country,
right,
is how you set up your non-conference schedule. Okay. So people who are fans and have season tickets, they want to see big-time teams coming to town. That Tennessee series that got canceled, they want to see that. They want to see these big-time teams like the Colorado series, right?
Yeah.
They want to see that. Matt Rhule says, wait a minute.
Come on, man.
We're playing a 9-game Big Ten schedule.
Which is already tough.
Which is one of the best leagues. There's 2 great leagues. There's the SEC and there's the Big Ten. And he's saying, how does it help me to play those games? And what people will say, people I'm friends with, will go, well, you got to cater to your fans. You've got to do these games for them.
Dang.
Matt Rhule said, and today, this is his quote that he said today, and I love this. Because
people out here who think, oh, I'm a booster or I'm a fan. You pick a schedule for me.
I deserve this. What? I deserve it, right? So that's what they think. There are people like, hey, look, first of all, they're scheduling for one thing, and that is winning. Period. Win. Right? Okay, so you go. He said, the only teams that win are teams that put the program 100% first, and winning comes first. All right? You put the program first. It's not the fans that are first.
That's fact.
It's not boosters that are first. It's the winning, right? You got to spend time winning. So this is the prisoner's dilemma. Okay? That's what this is called. The prisoner's dilemma is, how do you handle stuff without having to placate others?
I feel you.
So your kids, right?
I got the,
So even going back to raising children to being a businessman, your job is to raise them to be successful adults, right? And whatever they do, you can't continually placate that child and be able to raise them the way you want. I cannot continue to placate the fans. I can't.
No.
I have to do what's best for
he didn't say nothing wrong,
my team.
Though.
He didn't. But see, there are people that get very upset because, like, well, why should they have this weak schedule? They shouldn't have this week. There's for this reason. Listen, last 2 teams. Let me say real quick before you. The last 2 teams to win national championships, and we've said this many times. Ohio State and Michigan. Neither one of those teams played a Power 5 team or Power 4 team in their non-conference. They didn't. They didn't play it. And they won the national championship. Are their fans at the end of the road going, well, you know what? The national championship that we won as Michigan fans doesn't count, because we didn't play a non-conference team.
You know why they not doing that? Because they winning. And this is the thing.
The fans don't care.
Right. And so you're right.
That's what he said.
Yeah, based off winner. So this is what I was about to say. So what if Matt Rhule picked the schedule that you want, get his ass kicked because they're not prepared, and then end up having a certain season, and then you make all these comments about the culture and do this and do that. That's the shit we're dealing with right now. Like, people wanted to cater to them, but they don't understand. It's like Rick Ross said it. You wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Like, they ain't in there putting in the work in the practice. They don't know. Like, the fans, to me, they need to, like, let the program set the culture and the tone, and they need to make their comments based upon that. Like, be a part of the culture, but we set the culture. I don't think he's wrong, bro.
The only thing that matters currently, this year, now, maybe things are going to change after 2025. But this year is your only goal as a Power 4 program is to make the college football playoff. You want to be in that 12.
For sure.
That's your only goal. It's the goal. The goal is not winning your conference. Your goal is not winning if you're in the division.
Because
your goal is to get to the point where you have to do what Arizona State did last year. They were picked to be second to last in their conference. They won enough games. They got to the dance. Now, they didn't win it, but they got there.
But it's more magnified now because of the 12.
It's the only goal.
I
want to be in that 12. And you can get upset about who they're playing and who they're not playing. For me, in the end, if Nebraska gets back to the true tradition of Nebraska, the true tradition of Nebraska through the 70s, the 80s,
and the
early
90s,
some of the 2000s was winning. That was the only tradition that mattered. We can talk about walk-on program. We can talk about the sellout streak. We can talk about all that stuff. But in the end, they won. They were the winningest team. Nebraska was the winningest team in the 70s. They were the second winningest team in the 80s. Florida State was number 1.
90s, obviously they won.
And they were the number 1 winning team in the 90s. So that's all it was about. If you get back to, you win 10 games this year, right?
Yeah.
And your loss is to the two of the best teams you play in conference.
Right.
You still have a really good chance, no matter who you played non-conference, to get into it because you're in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So you sitting at 10-2, you got a really good chance to be in the college
football playoff. That just make me go back to this. What do fans say who disagree with what his comments say if he picks that non-conference schedule, get dominated, and go over? What's the reaction?
Well, they'll say that, well, two things. One, they'll go, that's fine because I got a good game to watch.
Dang.
Right? I'm paying all this money for, and the person I'm talking about now doesn't even pay. He
Yeah.
doesn't have season tickets. But the people who have season tickets are saying, well, wait, hold on a second. I have season tickets. I deserve to have these teams brought in for me to watch. So they'll say that. The other part is they say, well, if you're not good enough to beat those teams in the non-conference, you're probably not good enough to win in the Big Ten.
Right.
So why does it matter?
So what schools out there actually picks that type of schedule the fans are looking for? Because I'm not saying I don't feel the fans.
So I will tell you so those 2 years I talked about.
Right.
With Ohio State and with Michigan, they didn't have Power 5. Now, Michigan has played down to so they've been scheduling some really bad non-conferences.
Yes.
Okay? But over the next couple of years, both Ohio State and Michigan have some real tough non-conference, whether it's Texas and some other ones. So they have. And Nebraska, throughout this history, even through this down part, they've had series against Colorado. They've had series against UCLA. They've had series against these different teams. So they want that. But it's a different world right now. The world right now is about playing for one thing.
Right.
It's kind of like it's more like professional baseball than it is anything else or college basketball. All you got to do is get to the playoff.
Facts.
Once you get to the playoff, anything can happen.
That's true.
We've had multiple wild cards in Major League Baseball advance to the World Series. Connecticut won 2 national championships where they were the only teams that were ranked that didn't have in the top 20 of offense and defense. Everybody else did, but they didn't.
So
because they got no run.
Is that basically saying like, okay, or is this Matt Rhule's energy to his comment? Is he basically saying like, hey, we're going to pick this like, I don't know what to call the schedule because I don't want to hate on the teams he picked, But we play this non-conference schedule, and then the teams in our conference are so strong on a RPI standpoint. Beating them actually matters to get us in a good position anyway, right? All right. Well, he know what he's talking about.
Well, I think he understands.
Yeah, you know what he's talking about.
You are playing in this league now.
The toughest.
And on a given year, you might have Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, USC. I mean,
them is big wins, bro.
In a given year, in a given year, you could have 4 or 5 teams that are, and this is what the SEC's been going through for years, right? They've been having where they're playing teams that are ranked high, and they're playing a bunch of them at the same time, and they're like, oh, is me. That's why we're only going to play 8 conference games instead of 9.
Right.
Once the Big Ten committed to playing 9, I think it was much easier to devalue your non-conference schedule.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not wrong, bro. Yeah. That's just my consensus on this topic.
Yeah, I don't have a huge problem with it.
I feel the fans, but he's not wrong.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah. No, I'm it's funny because when you look at how people think about this program, right? Instead of thinking about what the bottom line is.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I did a radio show for a long time, and I called it the bottom line because ultimately that's what everything comes down to.
Yeah,
it doesn't come down to your feelings.
No.
It doesn't come down to your season tickets. It doesn't come down to any of that. It comes down to one thing, the bottom line. How many wins you have, how many losses you have, period. And if Nebraska this year, right, if they and this is all about 26.
Okay.
If they play next year in 26, and like they don't have a Power 4 team on the schedule,
right,
and they manage to somehow win 10 or 11 games, I don't think anybody's going to care what happened.
Nah, they're going to forget about this, bro.
In September. They're not going to care about what happened in September.
No.
They're going to care about what happened in January.
Exactly.
And that's what's important.
Yeah.
So that was one thing I
mean, the conference is good within itself.
The conference is really good.
So you're not losing. You're not losing anything. You're getting conference schedule games that's like a given. You get some of the best teams in the country.
Yeah. I just don't think that anymore it matters as it used to be. So it used to matter when it was more of a judgment.
You want to win a bowl.
When it was a judgment case, when the committee got together and they judged you based, there was only 4 teams,
right?
And they were judging who to take. Yes, your non-conference meant something. It meant the big win you got.
Yeah, no doubt.
Indiana essentially played nobody.
I was thinking of them.
They played nobody, right? And in the end, they still got in.
Right.
When it wasn't because they're non-conference.
Right.
It wasn't. It was because they played in the Big Ten.
Exactly.
And that's why they were in.
Your conference matters.
Your conference matters, especially when you're playing in the top 2 conferences.
When
you're in the Big Ten and you're in the SEC, you're going to get games that are big enough to be judged on.
For sure.
Right? And Ohio State, so they had the schedule already set up with Oregon. Yep. Oregon obviously joined the Big Ten, so it became a conference game. But that was a game that, yes, it helped Ohio State later.
Yeah.
Because they beat Oregon.
Right.
Right? Oregon beat Ohio State, so it helped them later.
Right.
But in general, now it's about just getting the 10 wins.
I can't wait for us to get a reel of this. And I want to see the comments of what people think about what you're saying.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's one of those funny things.
Yeah,
because people are always going to think about themselves.
For sure,
people think about themselves first.
Yeah,
and that's what Matt Rhule is talking about right there. We cannot placate you. We cannot cater everything to you. What we have to cater to is winning.
Yeah,
and whatever's good for that.
Right,
and playing a non-conference against a Power 4 team. One of the best examples of this was Alabama, when they were really good, when they were rolling, I'm talking about from like 2009 through like
16,
2012, all the way through 2019.
Yeah.
So they were playing these non-conference games, right? They were playing non-conference opponents in that first 3 games. And they played USC one year, they played Miami one year, they played Florida State one year. They beat up those teams so badly at the start the season that many of those teams never rallied. I used to keep a stat for this. Every year they'd play one of those teams and they'd knock a quarterback out, or they would just beat them up, they'd blow them out. And then in the end, that team had a bad season because they took a butt whipping by Alabama.
So
if they would have not played those games against Alabama and just played a regular non-conference without playing Alabama, it probably would have made a huge difference for them.
So respectfully, you saying the Huskers are kind of like that team Alabama will play?
I'm saying they could be. Yeah. They could be. I'm not saying they can't beat those.
I know.
But if that happens, in no way does it help you.
I agree.
It just does not help you. And if your only argument is, well, the fans aren't going to get good games, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the game no matter what.
For sure.
I'm going to watch the game no matter what. And hopefully
everybody is,
and
no matter what.
Nebraska's going to advance, and they're going to play at a high level. That's all. That's all I think about.
This is what I think that can make the fans feel better. It's not about winning; it's how you win too.
Oh yeah,
so
it matters a ton.
Blow these people out the water to give our fans hope of what's to come.
Yeah, the way things work now, the way it is for this year in 2025.
Yep.
The teams you play in that non-conference.
Yep.
Whether it's playing, say you're playing Notre Dame, or say you're playing Bowling Green.
Yeah.
In the end, they're both just wins now.
Yeah.
And when you get to the end of the season, yes, if there's a tiebreaker and you won 9 games or something like that, maybe they'll give you more credit. But most part, that's not what they did. If you look at what they did, picking those 12 teams, now 4 of them get in because they were champs. But you look at 8, it's about who you beat in the non-conference or who even played in the non-conference. It wasn't.
No.
It was about who you beat this year.
Schedule.
Period. All right, enough about a sport that's not going to start for another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months,
weeks,
right? 6 months, right?
Weeks.
Yeah, long time before we get to football. But Nebraska basketball, Creighton basketball finished their regular seasons, and I thought it'd be a good time for us to kind of dig into it a little bit.
For sure.
Let's start with Creighton because that's the happier story, right? In terms of how Creighton played in the season, finishing 22-9 and 15-5 in league play. It's only going to probably get them an 8 or a 9 seed. And mainly the big reason for that is because, by the way, non-conference schedule, Creighton played a very tough non-conference schedule, and that's going to obviously help them with their stricter schedule. But that's over the course of 30-some games.
Football different.
Not over the course of 12.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter as much.
Different.
They'll play the winner of DePaul or Georgetown, and that's going to be on Thursday in the Big East tournament. In your opinion, was there a player on the team that exceeded your expectations?
Good question.
For the season, the regular season for Creighton.
Yeah. McAndrews.
He did? Jackson did?
Jackson
shot the ball well.
Yeah. He a diaper dandy, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was playing with I just feel like the 4 position in college basketball is just as important as the best player because it's that like
used to be the 2.
Yeah, it's the 4 is a new 2.
It used to be 2.
Literally.
Yep.
And the way Jackson has been shooting it, stretching the floor, like making plays down the stretch when nobody can get anything going out of our main guys, Jemiah. Yeah, like he exceeded. I didn't expect it. He remember when we interviewed him, he had the swag and the confidence of the best player in Minnesota, but he playing like like beyond his freshman year. So he the one who impressed me, bro.
Yeah, I agree. So I drove him home after, right?
Yeah.
And, I don't have a big car, and he had to squeeze himself. I'm like, dude, you're long. That kid is long.
Your car is not small though.
It's not a small car. It's a mid-size.
Mid-size.
But him getting in it, boy, I was like, that kid is long. And he does have a lot of confidence. For me, I think Jemiah Neal, and not every game, but there's times where he played better than I thought he would, just based off of what I saw before he got here.
No doubt.
And I think his shot got better as he went along. He kind of, when Pop got hurt, I immediately thought, oh my goodness, they're not going to be able to have a third scorer. Ashworth might be the guy following up Kalkbrenner. But many times, Jemiah Neal against big games,
I feel
he stood up. He stood up and played very well.
He did.
Now, he had some struggles down the stretch, but still, I think he probably stood out more.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about over the course of a career, though, I will tell you, and I will be as honest as I possibly can. I did not have the expectation of Stephen Ashworth becoming the player he became.
Oh, man.
When he first got here, and I watched him.
Prototypical point guard.
He struggled a little bit shooting it, right? He was turning the ball over. He didn't play very good defense. The first half of the year last year, I was like, and a lot of Creighton fans were like, oh my God, the exchange of Nembhard to him, that's not very good.
I know.
The way he's played, the way he shot it, the way he now plays defense, the flopping is very beneficial. He gets to the free throw line, and he's run this team.
I think he got the most heart on the team.
He has got a ton of it.
He's tough.
He is pound for pound.
I think, there you go. I think he's one of those guys where the load kind of got dumped on him. Pause. Like, I think it's one of those things where it's like, man, I'm looking around. Ain't nobody else stepping up. I got to do this. And he's been playing with that chip, man. Without his heart, without Jemiah, like you saying, and I think McAndrews, I don't think it go.
And then you've had
Kalk is Kalk, but aside from him.
And we had other guys, Isaac Trout had a stretch where he had everything. The one guy that really never got it going was Mason Miller.
I know.
Never got it going.
But I'm confused about that, though.
This is a guy who was the leading percentage shooter, three-point shooter in the Big East last year.
I know.
And went from that to where he couldn't make one.
I just don't.
It was fascinating to watch.
I can't even speak on him.
Just left.
Because, one, he's my guy. Two, I don't know the story. I don't know what happened. And I didn't really even look deeper to even figure it out.
He was hurt. Now, he got hurt during the offseason. And he started, but it never came around.
That's true. I don't know. But think about this rhythm, though. Okay, boom, you get hurt. You come back. You playing. But then you got a guy like McAndrews playing better than we expected.
But he was still starting, though.
True.
It was still letting Mason start.
But then you got Jason Green who actually holding it down. And then Trout starting to get the confidence and shoot. He's in like a weird position. And to keep it real for me, and then they got number 7. He came out of nowhere to me. I can't even think of his name, but I think like
Fedor Zukic.
There you go. I think it'll be.
And they were waiting for him to get him qualified.
Right. And so Mason was in that position like Sharif, where it's like you go down, somebody else step up.
He's playing 28 minutes a game. It's not like Sharif's playing 12 minutes a game. He's playing 28 minutes a game, and he is averaging. You know how much? Guess. How much is he averaging a game?
Points?
How many points is he averaging a game?
I thought it was like 10.
1.1.
Oh, my gosh.
1.1. He has his three-point shooting, he is shooting 15.4%.
He's not taking a lot, though.
I see. He was the leading.
I feel you.
Free throw.
I'm not justifying. I feel you. You're right.
I'm just saying he's the one guy that if you're going to say a letdown, he was the one. You thought he might come in because when we talked about it earlier, it was kind of a 3-man rotation. It was going to be Trout. It was going to be Jason Green, and it was going to be Mason Miller trying to battle for that spot.
And then McAndrews start balling.
And he's still playing. But he's not playing very well.
So how many minutes? Can you do me a favor and tell me how many minutes McAndrew? And just tell me the
31 for McAndrew.
All right.
No, excuse me. Hold on a second. Let me get back. He's averaging He's averaging 20 minutes.
All right.
He's averaging 20 minutes. So your starters are...
So he's efficient.
Kalkbrenner is 33.5. Stephen Ashworth is 35.7.
Okay.
Pop, before he got hurt, was averaging 31.8. Jemiah Neal is 33.3. McAndrew is 20.4.
And then Trout?
Trout is 16.7.
And then Green?
Jason Green is 19.1.
Okay. So
Zukic now, by the way,
12.
11.4.
I've been watching him a little bit.
He's coming in before.
So it sounds
Mason
like
Miller is the next highest guy minutes-wise.
So give me his rebounds.
So whose rebounds?
Miller.
Mason Miller is averaging rebounds. He's averaging 1.8 a game.
I'm just giving
1 point per game. He's just struggled, man. That's all. He's struggled,
tough.
And it surprised me.
We got to get him on a pod, bro.
It surprised me that
we got to get him on a pod. I would love to talk to him.
Shooters shoot.
You're right.
Shooters shoot.
Yeah.
So tell me this. Before they get to the Big East tournament.
Yep.
How far of a run can they make if they are 8-9 seed?
In the Big East tournament?
No. If they're an 8-9 seed in the tournament, how far of a run can they make? Now, I think they would have to win the Big East tournament to move up higher than an 8.
I think on the strength, they are a Sweet 16 team.
Okay.
Because
even being an 8-9 team, that means you win, you get the number 1 seed.
I think.
Okay.
I want to go past the third round. The reason why I say that is because you got Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Yep.
I just bank on him.
Yep. They're going to play good defense. They're going to play good defense.
And as I'm saying that,
right.
I'm treading lightly. That's the so-called blind optimistic side. Yeah. But if I just want to just be realistic, I say third round.
My pick for winning the Big East, first of all, tournament, is going to be Xavier.
Yep.
I kind of like the way Xavier's playing down the stretch.
Yep.
I like the way they played against Creighton. I like that. So I think Xavier. And then I think Creighton wins the first round game, their 8-9 game, if they're an 8-9 game, and they lose whoever the number 1 seed is. And Kalkbrenner ends an amazing career, but he ends it in the second round.
So in the third round game in the NCAA tournament. Oh no, the 8-9 seed. So they got to play 2 games.
They'd win if they win the 8-9,
right?
Then they would play the number 1 seed
for the third round game. They'll lose.
Second round.
Yeah, because they don't got the playing game.
Yeah,
right.
They don't count that as a round anymore. So that second round, they would be out. Now, I believe this in the beginning of the season. I think Creighton can upset almost anybody.
I do too.
But I think they can also lose.
I do too.
To almost anybody.
I do too.
And I don't not like DePaul. I don't think they're going to lose to DePaul.
And we're talking about the NCAA tournament.
Once they get out of the Big East tournament, if they don't win it, I think they're an 8 or 9 seed. And they'll win that first game,
right?
And then they lose the second game to the number 1 seed,
yeah.
which isn't. I mean, it's hard to beat the number 1 seed. That's why the number 1 seed.
I think because of who Ryan Kalkbrenner is.
Okay.
I'm just going to assume he's going to play at his best.
Okay.
I think that Creighton by default can get to the Sweet 16 as an 8-9 seed.
So they would play. Number 1 seed's probably Duke.
It's
Houston.
It's Duke, Tennessee, Houston.
It's Houston, Tennessee, and Auburn. Yes. That's your 4, right?
Yes. Somebody losing out of that before they get to Creighton.
They're not losing in a 116 game.
Man, listen, bro.
It's happened twice in history.
It can happen, man.
It's happened twice in history. I'm trying to tell you. It's happened twice in history. I don't think it's happening again.
I feel it.
So you think Creighton is going to win the 8-9 game, have to play the 16 seed, and that's what gets them. You need to go to Vegas right now and bet that. Because you can make a ton of money off of that.
Charles Barkley say, Garrett. No, I'm playing.
You make a ton of money off of that if you do that.
I just think that if Creighton got to play straight up,
yeah,
I think realistically, I think the second round game they play. I just think if Ryan Kalkbrenner plays at his best, I can. If I got to push it, I'll say the Sweet 16. That's all I'm trying to say.
So let me. I'm gonna run over real quick to a mock bracket.
Please.
I'm gonna bring up a mock bracket real quick.
Please.
To kind of give you an idea of who they might have to play.
Right.
So at this point, your number 1 seeds would be in this mock bracket: Auburn, as we said,
Duke,
Florida over Tennessee, and Houston. So they have Florida over Tennessee.
Really?
So you have Florida, Houston. And you have Duke and Auburn. This mock bracket that I have here, 8-9 games, they have Mississippi State playing Creighton.
Yes.
The winner of that game
plays
Houston.
Yes.
And you're saying Creighton beats Houston.
I'm saying that. Oh, they play UNO? Oh, man. I think so the way this look right now, Houston would have to play UNO.
Yeah, Omaha.
And the winner of that game will play
Creighton.
Man, this is tough.
They beat Mississippi State.
This is just tough right here.
Well, no matter what, if you're the 8-9 team, you always...
Let the people know about that whole Midwest upper side.
Well, I'm just saying. So
it's Creighton versus Mississippi State.
Right. If they win that game, they would play Houston.
Versus Houston.
They would play Houston.
Yeah. That's
and
tough.
you're saying they beat the number 1 seed.
No, I'm saying the way I'm looking at this.
Yeah.
No.
So Florida would play Norfolk State. There's not a good chance they're going to. Now, Norfolk State had a huge upset long time ago against Duke. So Auburn would play the winner of Southern or American.
So the biased Creighton fan in me,
yeah.
I think they can go to the Sweet 16.
Okay.
That's
by beating the number 1.
There you go.
All right, that's cool. And that's understandable because I think they can beat.
Yes.
And Houston can go cold. Now, they play really good defense, and they fly all around.
They get after it.
But certainly can. Let's move to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Because obviously it let down.
Right.
There's been a lot of roller coaster seasons for Nebraska basketball over the years. It's what Nebraska basketball is. Most of them were all down.
Talk about culture.
There wasn't a lot of ups. They were mostly just downs. But this year, beyond any of the other ones, I can't remember anything like this. So they're sitting at 12-2. Mm-hmm. Okay, they're 12-2. They beat UCLA. It's a really good win. And then Iowa game, they're up 15. They choke it away.
Right.
They get killed by Purdue.
Yeah.
They play Rutgers down the stretch. They lose the game.
Right.
They play Maryland down the stretch. They lose the game.
Right.
They play USC down the stretch. They lose the game. And then they get blown out by Wisconsin. 6 straight losses. And really, honestly, at that point, I thought the season was over.
Yes.
But then they turn around and they beat Illinois. They beat Oregon, right? At Oregon, good win. Then they beat Washington, not one of the best teams in the Big Ten, but still a good win. And they were down early in that one. And then they beat Ohio State. So they come back and win 4 in a row. And you're like, okay,
what the hell?
They're back in this.
All right.
They play this game against Maryland that they should have won.
Yes.
They should have won this game against Maryland. They lose it, so they got lost again. Then they play Northwestern coming off the Maryland game, and you're like, oh, my God. They're down 20 or whatever they're down. And you're like, they're going to let Maryland beat them twice. And they come back and they win that game.
Right.
And at that point, you're saying to yourself, win 2 more games on the regular season, and you're in the tournament. Mm-hmm. 2 more games, you're in the tournament, and they don't win again.
Man.
They don't win again. Penn State, Michigan, a game they should have won. Michigan game they should have won. Make some free throws down the stretch. Minnesota, Ohio State, double overtime.
Yep.
And then lost to Iowa to end the season. Iowa injure season. Not only injure season because you're not going to the tournament, you're not going to the Big Ten tournament.
Right.
So
yeah.
It's one of the bigger letdown seasons only because the expectation was built up because of the non-conference.
Exactly.
But if we were sitting here doing the portal stuff last year around this time, it was in April of last year,
right?
And we were going over what Creighton had in the portal and what Nebraska got in the portal, and I kept saying none of these guys.
You said Nebraska that. I remember that. Are
ranked in the portal except for Gavin Griffins, and he didn't even play.
You said that, man.
And everybody they tried that they had on their number 1 list or number 2 list to get in, they didn't get. And so they settled for guys. They settled for a Morgan who, he's a backup. Yeah. He's a backup center. They settled for the Modic, who's Braxton Maya, who's not very good, not very athletic. All of that. They settled for these guys. They bring in a Connor Essegian who didn't shoot the 3 last year very well, but they thought he would bounce back. He ends that game going 0 for 11 against Iowa. Bryce Williams, your best player, gets 7 in a must-win game. Now, he had 45. Maybe he was worn out from the game he had against Ohio State, but that's a must-win game.
Look, man, it's going to take about $2 million, and
it will require some cash. You're right.
You know, because Coach Hoiberg, I think he can coach.
Yeah,
personally.
So you're not into this whole he should be fired or anything?
At this point, I'm not opposed.
So you would be all right to fire him?
I would be all right.
Even though you agree that he's a good coach?
If I had a sit down with the AD and he said, this is my list.
If he fired him, who would he hire? Okay.
Yes. Then I wouldn't be opposed because of what's been going on. But I'm just saying, before you do that, you go ahead and cough up some cash and you get you a really good 5 because the Big Ten is a methodical conference. Michigan got 2 7-footers. You know, you can keep talking Illinois, blah, blah, blah. So you get you a really good, like a Kalkbrenner, and you get you one really solid 4-man. You get the 4 and the 5. You cough up some cash, and you see what he does with that. And if that don't work, move on.
Well, say here's the problem.
What's that?
We call that money whipping, by the way. money whipping somebody. Here's the problem.
Yeah.
When Nebraska money whips you and another team money whips you, and you have to decide, you come to Nebraska where they have no tradition playing basketball.
Damn. Because somebody going to counter that.
And the other team comes by with their money whip. Yeah. Can you beat them out? That's what happened last year.
Yes.
They had 3 or 4 different guys who they were in on. They got to visit. They thought they had a good shot, and they lost them out to somebody else. Because look at the guys that chose not to come to Nebraska out of the transfer portal. Look at the guy. William Kyle.
True.
Local kid.
That would have been crazy.
Chucky Hepburn.
Hoopers.
Local kid.
Wait. Don't just say
Hunter
that.
Salas.
Say first team all ACC and Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep. Hunter Salas.
All ACC.
All ACC. Those 3 guys, any of them could have chosen to transfer to Nebraska.
And I heard on the inside, they didn't want to.
Yeah, well, Hepburn, I know for a fact.
I know for a fact with Hunter Salas. They didn't want to give it up, bro.
They didn't want to give enough of it up.
But who's making that decision, though? Maybe that person should be fired.
Well, it comes down to you're investing in football, number one.
Okay.
And you're giving money to football. And there's a limited amount that you're going to be – and you're investing in volleyball at the school.
Oh, damn.
So you're investing in those 2 spots. The question is, whatever the investment is in basketball, can it be good enough to convince somebody who normally wouldn't go to Nebraska because of lack of tradition to come here?
So Alabama basketball and Alabama football is good.
They are good right now. Yep.
So that just gives me
they very true. Alabama is in the South.
Oh, okay.
Nebraska is in the Midwest. They have about 2 million people in the whole population.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
So the picks you have from this state, and there have been some good players, don't get me wrong, but like John Tanji, when he came out of Central, he wasn't ready to go straight to Nebraska. Nah. He wasn't ready yet. So
he was barely mid-major ready.
You could have said to yourself, hey, we'll wait 2 or 3 years on John Tanji.
Yeah.
But then now you can't do that, right? Because everything is in a hurry. Right? You're in a hurry. So it's a tough situation for them. In Alabama and many other states, or Ohio,
right,
you have a choice of a lot of players.
Right.
Nebraska, it's a smaller number of players. It makes it a little bit more difficult.
Man, I personally think that the feeder systems, we talk about a lot of this off record, but like some of the things that Nebraska has coming in general could actually help. But that's post Coach Hoiberg. Mm-hmm. But if we cultivate and develop, like,
who's the player playing currently in Nebraska?
There's not one.
High school player.
Not one.
The only one that you really can look at is Jordy Ball's brother.
True.
Who can score. Don't get me wrong.
But
I believe he's going to South Dakota State. I think that's where he's going.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And that's where he belongs.
Respectfully, we just talking about getting the job done.
Who's the guy
we don't got
right
the
now?
guy in Nebraska.
So you got to go out and you either got to say to yourself,
you got to get that one donor that's going to like help you double and be ready to counter.
Well, some of the donors don't want to give because they don't believe in Nebraska basketball.
I know. That's the
tough
problem.
part. That's the balance.
That's tough.
That's the balance. And it's a money business. We all know it's a money business. But when the money's equal,
I got the solution.
What's the solution?
You go get you. Remember in football we talked about you go get you a Urban Meyer. You go get a big name, another big name coach with like a different culture. Matter of fact, Calipari went to Arkansas. You see how the players went with him. You need a guy like that who you can just plug and play.
There's a guy coaching at St. John's that every place he's ever gone, he's won, and I bet you they could have gotten him.
There's a person I won't say his name.
They could have gotten him.
I will not say his name, but I told his ass that St. John. Remember we talked about this?
They could have gotten a guy like that. But again, I'm going to go back to the Nebraska way.
Yeah.
Right? There is this belief that you have to be above it all. You can't have a guy who's had controversy. You can't have a guy.
But that's life.
I know that.
Damn.
They're going all the way back to Bob Huggins. Bob Huggins got relieved of his duties at Cincinnati mainly because of drinking and driving.
Well,
and Nebraska needed a coach. He had been out of the game for a year, and they said, "Nope, we can't take a guy like that."
So we're not hiring second chances.
And he ends up going to West Virginia there.
So Coach Osborne won everything he won because he didn't let Lawrence Phillip go. Coach, I can give you stories.
I'm just talking about in terms of the way Nebraskans think at times.
Man,
they think that way. At the time, I was like, hire Bob Huggins.
Yeah.
Why not? Bring him in. He can coach.
Right.
He can coach. There was a time where I thought they might get, who's the guy we hate? Marshall.
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 Greg Marshall.
We thought they'd get Greg Marshall.
That would have been crazy.
Right? We thought they would get Greg Marshall.
That would have been crazy.
It didn't work out. But yes, you can go out and hire a bigger name coach.
You go get that big name, it's going to change things.
But wouldn't you say when Hoiberg was hired, he was a big name coach.
Yeah, but he's a nice guy. Like it's like a Matt Rhule approach. Like he'll build a program.
Yeah.
It's a connotation of that.
Yeah.
Coach Hoiberg came straight from the NBA, and in the NBA, like coming down to college, his credentials of the NBA, but his character fit the Nebraska way.
Yeah. And he had the background. His grandfather coached here. He was actually born in Lincoln. Yeah. So all that reason. Give me a name. Give me a name of a coach. What big name coach do you think is coming in Nebraska to, one, play in the Big Ten, which is not an easy job, coming to Nebraska with no tradition? Who's coming here? And by the way, Hoiberg makes like $4.5 million. So it's not like they're not paying.
I know.
They are paying.
I hate to say this.
Who you say?
I'm just going to look. I'm going to look in-house first. Ryan Miller from Creighton, assistant Creighton. Put him at Nebraska.
Well, that's not a big name guy.
No.
He can recruit.
No.
He can recruit.
Boom. Okay.
Yeah, he can recruit.
So I'm just thinking. So Ryan Miller. And then when it comes to a big name that can actually recruit, you look at some of these guys kind of like I'm really thinking, give me a little time. Because I know sometimes when you say stuff, you got to back it up.
Yeah.
So I would say.
When you're talking about big name coaches in college basketball, there's only really a handful of them. There's not a ton. There's like a handful.
Steve Lutz.
He's not a big name coach right now.
No, he's not. No.
And I think Lutz is going to be good. I mean,
I'm thinking of guys that can recruit.
High points getting in. And maybe the next level for Steve is a level of Nebraska, but I don't know if that's happening right now.
But a big name that can just come right away.
Yeah. Like you were talking about Urban Meyer. You were talking about a guy for football who had won 3 national championships.
Right.
So who's that guy?
I know.
That is commensurate with that for basketball.
Oh, man.
Although he's already at St. John's, like we talked about.
He ain't coming.
No, I know he's not. Maybe they could have got him.
You know who else they could have got was somebody like Shaheem, Coach. Is it Coach Holloway from Seton Hall?
Yeah, but another one that's not a really. It's
a good recruiter.
Guy. Yeah,
I know. I can't think of a big name off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's you. I think you stick with Hoiberg.
Let me go through my phone.
And you figure out a way.
Yeah.
You figure out a way to get enough money raised to where you can get those players who are
I don't think they should get rid of Hoiberg, like I said.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, if you do, you better come with a marquee name.
It would have to be a marquee name, and they have to choose to come here. Real quick, and you look at that before. One more thing from Matt Rhule. He went over all the players who were not practicing during the spring. They're out with injury. And it's a great example of some young offensive linemen having a chance because Gunnar Gatula is going to be out. Turner Corcoran is going to be out. Teddy Prohaska is going to be limited but out. And Henry Letowski also out. So 4 of the guys who have chances to play a lot on the offensive line are going to be out. So it gives those young guys a chance to be able to develop a little bit. A couple other guys who are important that's out. Demetrius Bell, who we really liked last year and hopefully he's healthy again. Tristan Alvano, still recovering a little bit. He's going to be out for the spring. And Jalen George, newcomer, who a lot of people were kind of wondering in terms of being a defensive end, if he would come, he's going to be out for it as well. Who you got? Give me somebody.
We're going to double back. Keep it rolling.
I really don't believe.
Because you got me kind of stumped.
I don't really believe there is somebody. Like, they could have done something like, so Thad Matta, for example, who was at Ohio State, right, and was a winner and did some really good things. That wasn't a guy. He decided to retire. Then he comes back,
So everybody I'm looking at is a great recruiter, but no big names will be available.
Yeah. You stick with who you got, and you figure out a way to.
But he's already gone. He at West Virginia.
Who?
But he's a good recruiter, Coach DeVries.
I mean,
he was on his list.
And maybe you could have looked. You could have done it last year because
last year would have been perfect.
They went to the tournament last year. You're not going to fire him going to the tournament and bring him DeVries.
And I know he would have came. Yeah. He would have came.
Yeah, maybe eventually. You keep Hoiberg for a couple more years. You see how it goes. You try a bunch of other things.
And then you go get Darren DeVries or Ryan Miller.
Darren comes back home to help you. Maybe.
I'm just me.
Maybe that happens.
I'm not against Coach Hoiberg, though. I like Coach Hoiberg a lot. I like him a lot.
I think we all think that he is a good offensive mind, but for whatever reason,
he just needs the talent.
They can't
like, give him the talent and you'll win. Put that money up, man.
Find me a true point guard.
Right.
Do that.
Right.
Find me another guy like Bryce Williams to help him out.
Because to keep it 100 with you, the Big Ten, the basketball conference is actually good.
No, it really is. No, I know.
It ain't
you got to convince a coach too,
right,
to make that decision to come into a conference that is incredibly competitive.
Damn.
So that's not a very easy thing to do.
So give him about a little more than Hoiberg and put some money behind him.
Put some money behind him.
Hoiberg just need more money.
Get lucky with some of the young guys you have in your system right now, and hopefully they develop into some teams that are good.
Right.
So that is our breakdown of Nebraska and Creighton basketball into the regular season. Of course, we'll look at when everything is over at the end and see that as well. Do you have a favorite going into the tournament that you like the best out of those teams we're talking about?
I like that you asked me that. I'm not really tripping off of the 1 seeds and all that. I mean, I'm really interested in seeing St. John's, their run.
Yeah.
And seeing what I've been following Alabama just because of Preston Murphy on the squad as a coach, and Trelly, Latrell Wright Jr. So I would say I'm interested in following Creighton.
Latrell's out, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. So Creighton, Alabama, St. John's, because I love Coach Pitino, and UConn.
The team is that I've really liked watching and really impressed me the last few weeks, and it's Florida.
Okay.
Obviously, Duke is doing their thing, and Auburn has its moments, but watching Florida play, they have the depth, I think, to make the run.
I feel like I've been sleeping on them.
I think they can get all the way through. So they are currently 27-4.
Okay.
Right? I watched them play last weekend, and that was so I watched them play Alabama. That was the game and they beat Alabama. I had some investments in that. I was watching that. They beat A&M and Alabama back-to-back.
Dang.
And in those two games, I said, okay,
that's a good team.
That's a team I like. So if there was a team that I was going to bet a future on right now to win it all, and you don't get great odds on the number 1 seed, but it'd be Florida.
At least, I think
it'd be Florida is who I would look at.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
In my conclusion about college ball.
Okay.
National Player of the Year, Cooper Flag or
I took the Flag. I voted for Flag.
Yeah.
I voted for him.
I think
it's close. It's closer than it was. The odds are getting closer.
Yeah. I don't think for me, I was going with Janai Broom, even with him being hurt.
Yep.
But Cooper is playing better and better and better every single game, to me.
So I voted in the Wooden Award, and I was going back and forth with that. And eventually, I just went with Cooper because of his completeness of his game.
I agree.
He had the other day, it was 22, 15, like assists.
Dang.
He had like 2 steals. I was like, damn.
Right.
And I would never want to vote for anybody from Duke. Trust me.
I know.
But I was like, I think he's just so complete. You got to vote for him. I think he'll end up winning it. Thank you very much. We got no guest this week, but we'll have another guest next week. It was a lot to get to, so we got to all of that and covered that. And hopefully we did a good job covering those. Special thanks to Caleb.
Thank you, man.
Doing work, of course, and our sponsor, Bud Light. We appreciate them for taking time to be a part of the Let It Fly show. Wherever you are, easy to drink and easy to enjoy. Also a reminder, Red Bull too. Come in here, you get your Red Bull, you get a watermelon margarita as well, and take care of you, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it a whole lot. Reminder, like and subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast. I know we've been having some problems with Apple Music and I think also Spotify. We're trying to get that fixed up. We'll get that fixed up, and wherever you listen, please subscribe and like if you're on YouTube as well. Josh, take us away.
Hey, Josh Jones here with Michael Severe. You know how we do it. It's a Let It Fly show.